Let's start with an overview of 3Shaper. To access 3Shaper, you have two choices in version 9 of the software. If you're on the home screen, you can actually jump right into the modeling module with this button here. It says access the modeling module. That'll take you right into 3Shaper. Or you can do like you normally would do with redesign and create a new part by accessing the part module and then selecting 3Shaper from the module menu. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into 3Shaper and show you the interface. So the interface should be very familiar. It's still 3Design interface. We have a few new things in here. You'll see the tree still at the top left, and of course I'm using just the default 3Design layout. You can move these menus and change the layout any way you please. On the bottom left we have our properties. Our properties in 3Shaper is always open. It's not like in 3Design where you have to validate before you move on to another tool. So you can see if I click on a tool, it'll show me the properties for that tool. There's no validate button. I can jump right into a different tool. You will find certain tools that do have validate buttons because they have parameters that you have to enter and then accept those by clicking validate. But most of your tools you can switch between freely. Properties will always stay open on the left. On the bottom right, you're going to find a new window, which is our color tab. And this is where you can assign colors to faces and also select faces by those colors. So we'll cover that in more detail much later in the lessons. Okay. So two more things you're going to find in the 3Shaper interface. You'll always have these dedicated shortcuts on the top left and top right. One note about those, if you're using version 9 and you don't have your windows docked, you can see that those shortcuts will pop to the left corner of the screen, and it is possible to have a window on top of those. So if you want those to stay locked to the side of the window, just make sure your windows are locked to the side of the screen. You can lock a window by just dragging it onto the side of the screen. It'll pop into place. That'll move your shortcuts where they should be. If you're working with two monitors, you have all your windows on the other side of the screen, then it doesn't matter. These can be in the corner. Okay, so let's take a look at a Shaper object and I'll show you some of the features of our shortcuts here. So we're going to go ahead and exit out. To exit out of 3Shaper, we have this back button, just like in sketch mode or rendering mode, any of your other modules in 3Design. There is one difference in 3Shaper though. You'll notice that this says Reach History Tools instead of Exit. If I click that back button, we're not back in 3Design quite yet. There's this sub menu. This is our History Tools menu. This contains some parametric tools that we can use. This is a sub menu between 3Design and 3Shaper. So to get all the way back to 3Design, we hit back one more time. Okay, now that took me back to the home screen because that's where I started. See my modeling in the tree. I'll go ahead and access the part module. And you'll see we're back in 3Design like normal inside of a part. If you want to add a model, a 3Shaper model to your project here, you would just click the 3Shaper or the modeling button over here on the right. Okay, I'm going to throw in a sample model here. There's a panther here in the library, and we'll just go ahead and import that as normal and then select it and go ahead and add that modeling to the tree. So I'll highlight the panther and click on access the modeling module, and we have the import options. Basically you can change the accuracy, whether or not you want to keep the original or delete the history. So we'll go ahead and validate that. Okay, and you'll see from here I'm in the sub menu. I'm going to click this tool here which says Reach Modeling Tools. This is going to add an edit surface to my history so that I can edit and work on this using my modeling tools. Okay, so you can see the mesh on the screen. Let me hide these axes and planes for you. And we'll take a look at our shortcuts. So first of all, we have our selection modes. And there's three modes: faces, vertices, that's the points that we can select and manipulate, and then finally edges. Edges are the edge of each face in between each point. Okay, so that's your three selection types. And then on the left side we have our view types. There's four ways to view this model. Right now we're using the soften model view. So this is the actual, what we would actually export if we wanted to produce this model. This is what we would print. This is what we would get. It's automatically softened by the software. To see what the model looks like to the software, we have polyhedral mode, or box mode. It's the simpler term for it. And this will show you the actual geometry of the model. You can see this model, this mesh is made up of polygons. They're all just flat polygons, and then the software automatically softens it into a nice organic mesh. Okay, so box mode is nice because sometimes it's easier to select. If you have a lot of polygons, you can select the edges and the points much clearer in this mode. Okay, the other two modes are just see-through versions of those two modes. So we have the see-through softened mesh, and with see-through in edges and vertices, you can actually see those edges and vertices on the back side of the model. And you can actually select those without having to flip the model over. So you can see I can grab that edge on the back side by just selecting it through the model. Okay, and then there's also polyhedral or box mode that has see-through as well. Okay, pretty basic so far. Okay, so that's really it for the overview of 3Shaper. Going forward, we'll start learning the tools and start manipulating and creating our own meshes.